So hello, everyone. Welcome to the mentoring working group of the TAG CS team. We are an official meeting of the CNCF folk, and so we are covered by the, oh, come on, what is the name of the thing that I need to read out? It's the community, sorry, say again?
Community Code of Conduct.
CNCF Code of Conduct. That's the one, thank you. It's the Community Code of Conduct. Somebody else should read this off next time. I've not,
great.
Oh. At any rate, we are covered by the Community Code of Conduct, which is to say, please be kind to each other. That all out the way. We have an agenda. I'm actually set up a little bit differently than if somebody would like to drop the agenda into the chat, that would be lovely. But I think I see a couple of folks in there already anyway. Sorry about that. So I expect that this will be the last of our meetings for this year. Just an availability note. Thank you, Jay. I will be off starting this Friday, and I won't be returning until Monday, January 9th. So I'm taking a little bit of a winter break here. So, and if anybody else has got time off and would like to share, then let us know. No, there's no requirement to by any means, but I always like to let folks know when I'm not going to be around when I would otherwise be expected to be.
Yeah, that's all good. I'll be working through to the end of next week, but I'll be back on the 9th as well. So
good stuff.
Yeah,
I'm off from Friday, which is 2 days from now in New Zealand, and coming back early in the new year. It is summer in the Southern Hemisphere, so I today collected a whole truckload of firewood, so there's going to be some cooking on the fire going on.
Very nice.
Some relaxing summer things.
Very nice. Yeah, you two aren't wearing the big, like I've got like a warm sweater on. I imagine it's not as necessary down there, or up there, depending on where you buy your maps. All right. So moving on, we've just in terms of the agenda here, general progress report. I think that might have to do with, so what I took that to mean is one of the things I've been doing a lot the last couple of weeks, I'm sorry, is to collect sort of what we've been doing and sort of add it to various reports, either for the governing board or various oversight committees and such. And I wanted to share with you folks as well, particularly the diversity data. I had shared location data previously, but now I was able to collect the actual diversity, what they call it, DE and I data. And I was able to collect it for both 2021 as well as 2022, which means we can now start looking at potentially correlating between one year to the next, so we can actually start seeing patterns and whatnot. And so I'm not going to go through, well, I mean, if we want, we could go through it. I could potentially, I think it's all been anonymized. So let me actually set this up so that I can share my screen, because I don't generally set that up that way. So hold on just a moment, and then I can walk you through what last year's data was and what this year's data is looking like it is going to be. So while I do that, do we want to skip ahead, or do you just want to wait for me to do it?
No, we can skip ahead. We'll keep things moving. Yeah, I just thought it'd be good for us to just give a general update in terms of efforts and things at the moment. And obviously, probably one of the foremost ones of that is the ongoing work around the mentoring repo. And great that you're here, Josh, because it'd be cool to hear a little bit. Sorry, I missed the last tag meeting. It'd be cool to hear a little bit about what's happening on your side and where some things might sort of overlap. But we've been chipping away at that for a while, and you know, a lot of sort of conversation and work in the background has been around how to make, well, you know, creating a bit of a persona in terms of who are the types of people that we expect to be engaging with the repo, particularly around aspiring mentees and existing or aspiring mentors and new contributors, and how much we sort of build that around you know, what we expect to sort of see, or they, for those sorts of people to be looking for, and some of the efforts that's already happening around the wider sort of contributor you know, growth efforts and things too. So we iterated a few, you know, different layouts and things, and for the most part, we're pretty content with you know, the general sort of structure we have there, basically breaking into 4 subcategories around mentees, mentors, programs, and the working group itself. But in looking at some of the other programs and things that, and how we sort of align with what they're doing, and finding some consistency with the messaging, things like that, we identified outreach as a good one that we want to sort of build a relationship with. And looking through some of their documentation, it's yeah, I think some of us agree that, you know, the approach that they've taken and the depth of content and the way they really consider the types of people who they expect to be interacting with, we thought was really good. So hoping to sort of catch up with them in the new year once we have a little bit more understanding about their work and you know, where some synergies might be. But also, I guess, in the broader sort of scope of things is that we don't, although we can sort of keep chipping away with a lot of those sorts of things, identifying you know, what sort of plans and ideas are with the contributor IO site would be really good too, because we don't want to sort of be, you know, doubling up on things there. And, you know, what are the things that's really pertinent to perhaps, you know, new or existing contributors that will be on that website, and what are the key things that we sort of need to have in the mentoring so they're sort of complementary, especially if there's, you know, any sorts of plans going forward for you know, mentoring to have its own page on the side or its own site, or whatever, you know, sort of determine is the best sort of course of action there. So yeah, did anyone have anything they wanted to sort of input on that? Nope.
I'm sorry, go on. Oh, I'm getting echo. Sorry.
Okay.
My bad. I heard myself say something, and then I go back to me. I thought I was interrupting somebody. Turns out it was just me. I saw your document. I haven't gone through it fully just yet, but it looks like on first blush, it looks like we could. It looks like great content, and what it looks like we can do with it is split out the sort of the mechanical stuff that we are currently using the repo for, with the informational stuff that we're using the repo for. So, and what I mean by mechanical stuff is we're still going to need to use the repo for collecting things like proposals and whatnot. But all the informational stuff, I think that stuff can be either split out into like a wiki or onto the contributor.cncf.io website, maybe under slash mentorship or something along those lines.
Yeah, anything that you actually want. I mean, the problem is that you kind of want to split it out into 2 places. So you want to have some stuff, you want to have mentee-oriented stuff, figure out a place for that to live under I want to contribute. And the challenge with that is that I want to contribute is not really a fully fleshed out site right now. But I mean, you can add stuff to it.
Yeah, we can help flesh that out.
Yeah. And then, you know, stuff around mentoring projects, participating in mentorship programs, etc., needs to go under I'm a maintainer.
Would we want to put it under maintainer, or would we want to break it out into something that is specifically mentoring because again, a lot of what we were looking at this as is if you're interested in the mentorship program as a mentor, what are the first things that you're going to want to do? What are the first sort of pieces of information that you're going to need? And same on the mentee side. And so if we're this is why I was like, if we bring it under the contributing website, I wonder if we should have a separate section for it that is linked to but not part of the contribute and maintainer tracks.
Well, I mean, your issue there is where you're going to host it. Just because and we actually do have that divided out. There's resources, is the other part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But you definitely want it hosted on a website rather than in a GitHub document, just because GitHub documents have very poor Google ranking.
Yes, absolutely they do. So would it be? Well, I guess we would need to go to the Tag CS meeting and make a suggestion or make a proposal, because I would think a fit. So currently I'm just looking at the contribute to CNCF.io site. We've got about, contributors, maintainers, and resources as our top 4. Yeah. I'm suggesting we add a mentoring top level as well. I think I shouldn't say we are suggesting that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that most of mentoring actually does fall under contributing, because I mean, that is what you're doing, whether you're a mentor or a mentee.
Agreed.
The one part of it that kind of needs to be linked for the maintainers is joining a program, right? Because that's something that the maintainers have to do.
Right.
And for smaller projects, the maintainers and mentors. So it kind of, I mean, I kind of see either we're going to be doing a lot of sim linking or we're going to have a separate thing.
Right.
Which could be on its own or it could be under resources. What
are the types of resources that we already have in there? Templates, tag contributor strategy videos. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
okay. So what I'm hearing is that, in your opinion, Josh, the mentorship stuff should be well intertwined with the existing contributor stuff.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about, sort of experience with potential mentees. And a lot of times people start out with hey, I want to contribute to a CNCF project, but I don't know how or where to get started. Yeah. And mentorship is one of the, getting mentored is one of the possible answers to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
and if you look at it on the maintainer thing, is mentorship programs are definitely part of the sort of contributor growth outlook. So anywhere we put it, we're going to be doing sort of cross links all over the place.
I would tend to agree there. Yeah.
So yeah, because actually the main issue with having it as sort of a top level menu item is that the main way that people choose their path here, right, is this graphic that says, I want to be a contributor, I want to be a maintainer. But if everything's cross-linked, they can kind of feed into it anyway. And if we're looking at it that way, we might as well just go ahead and put it under resources or contributors. And just have a sort of unified mentorship thing. And then for the stuff that needs to get cross-linked from elsewhere, we just cross-link it from elsewhere. Because it's easier for you guys if your mentorship stuff is all in one place.
Well, I think collecting it under one folder to begin with is a good strategy for us to. Again, we can do this in an iterative approach, but I think to get it to lift it and move it in one chunk into one space, I think is going to be easier, and then we'll have a better understanding of what we've gotten and how it can fit. I think at that point things can potentially move, and I think if we hit like 1,000, maybe not 1,000, if we hit like 50 different areas in one transfer PR versus hitting one sort of folder and saying here it is, I think that the review is going to be a whole lot easier as well. Like actually getting it into the site is going to be easier. But I think at least we do agree that is the goal. That is where it should go. And so moving along this path is the right next step, I think. So I think we can sort of we can open an issue on one of the repos and have like a community discussion there. As a part of the move, or we could open a PR, but I don't think we're ready quite yet for a PR yet. And it's one of those things where I would like it to happen sort of simultaneously, if we can. If we can remove stuff and add stuff basically in the same week, that would be lovely, because I don't want to sort of duplicate things. So. And I think we've just lost Jay.
I think he might have a connectivity issue.
Yeah.
And he's back.
There he is.
Sorry about that. Just connection issues on my end.
Welcome back. Can I take a moment and go over some of our demographic information?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to share the screen here then. And share. Did that work? I think that worked. Okay. Can you see my... Yes, you can. Okay. So to begin...
Yes.
It's just a little bit smaller. There we go. So I'm going to start. This is 2022 location data, and this is, I think, a little bit more accurate than the sheet, and it's got the full name of the countries rather than the two-letter code. This is almost entirely as I expected it to be. We've got a lot of folks coming in from India. We've got a lot of folks coming in from China, and I think that I am pretty pleased with this overall. I don't have an exact number from last year, so I can't say if we're doing better or worse at this point. But I think one of the things that we need to be careful of moving forward is I don't want to discourage folks from anywhere from applying. I don't want to discourage folks from hiring the best candidate, but I do want to encourage folks from more places to apply and be selected, right? I don't want I'd rather grow the pie than reshuffle the pie, as it were. So then moving, so this is 2022. So our gender balance is 26% female and about 69% male. We haven't done any data cleaning, and so some folks were confused by the, this was all taken from the LFX profiles, and these are all participants. We had probably over 2,000 applicants, but these are all CNCF folks who were accepted. So, and that's going to include folks who didn't necessarily graduate in every case. So going back to last year, we had 77% male and 20% female. So I think that our diversity is getting a little bit better. We're increasing the number of women who are participating, and that's something that I think that we can continue to do. I'm not entirely sure what strategy we can use to do that, to encourage more women to apply, but we can see that whatever we did, if even accidentally last year, we've been able to increase that. We had overwhelmingly Asian participants this year. I'm not sure that this breaks things down far enough to know if that's going to be Southeast Asian or ethnically Chinese folks, or I think that the Asian region is a very large one, which encompasses both China and India. So I'm not sure that this is as helpful as I was hoping it could be. But we have the same general, it's about the same as it was last year. Age last year, 2021, we had some folks who were younger than 19. The mass majority of folks were between 20 and 39. And that's going to capture a lot of people in fourth year university and in their first couple of years of their careers. 20 to 39, that's a very wide, that's a humongous age range. I think I'd like to shave that down if I can, if we can do 20 to 30 and then 30 to 39, or even break it down into 5-year chunks, I think would be more useful for us. Because again, 81% of people 20 to 39, that doesn't, in my opinion, tell us a whole lot. Our income, a lot of folks are a little lower and working class. And these are all their own, like we don't say, oh, lower middle class is X number of dollars to Y number of dollars. So we let folks self-report on this. We've again, it's similar numbers, although I think we are getting a few more folks who are upper middle class in this year. No, I'm sorry. What was the difference there? There's a fifth upper class, and then working class, I think, has grown. And the do not want to provide crew has also, like we went from 6% not wanting to provide last year to almost a quarter not wanting to provide this year. So that's a significant change. I'm not sure what happened there. Education level, this is again unsurprising. Some college being the majority in both years, and I think that's an artifact of folks being students. But again, when we say some college or college, I'm not sure that we're able to glean a whole lot of. I don't know that there's a lot of actionable information there, but it's interesting to see the differences. And then the country count here. That, like, again, this I think The interesting thing, I think, here is the number of countries. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 countries representing in 2021, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 countries again this year. I think that's incorrect. Like I said, I think for the country information, I think this is a better list, and I want to find out where the difference is, because the information that I grabbed from here was from the payment tracking sheet. Again, I anonymized it. I copied it out and made sure that we had. So because we are paying people in the LFX, we have to know where they are, which means that this list is a very good indicator of where they are, and that we have a different sort of data set between that sheet and what is being self-reported here. And the number of, like, again, there's like 96 total individuals. We haven't done any data cleaning. Like, there's some holes in that. So anything in this gray box has not been included. But it's one of those things where moving forward into next year, one of the goals that I'd like to set for us is to work with the Linux Foundation research team. And as a part of our first quarter, try and understand what we want to get out of this type of data, now that we know that we've got the historical data, and see if there are better ways of collecting it throughout our process, so that by the end of the year we can have a report that can say, okay, we've set a goal for this and we've achieved it, and we know it because we went through this process to do it. Because right now we've got numbers, but I'm not sure that that's. It gives us a sense of how we're doing, but it doesn't tell us, like, I feel like any gains that we've done not accidentally, but we've done just without necessarily being aware that is the goal. So,
well,
thoughts?
I will say, as somebody who, mentored one LFX student this year, a couple of things. One thing that has not changed is the applications that you get are overwhelmingly from India.
Yep.
So it is not a surprise that India dominates the people who actually get mentored, right? Because
Yes.
they're overwhelmingly from India, and a bunch of the Indian submissions are very highly qualified. And part of it is just straight up population, right? As in, India is whatever it is, 20% of the world's population.
It's immense, yeah.
So they're going to account for a lot of people. Particularly because their main competitor in the area, China, has issues reaching the worldwide internet that India does not have.
Right.
And I also think language for India is easier than in general for the Chinese folk.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that did change this year is, like our first internship we did for LFX, we didn't have the opportunity to recruit a non-male mentee, because there were literally no applications from non-male mentees. Right. Whereas this year we had a few. Now we ended up going with a male mentee, but it was actually our final choice of 3 were 2 men and 1 non-male mentorship. And actually, if we'd had a different set of features in mind, we would have actually gone with the woman who applied. She was just much more on the front end design side, and we're going to actually reach out to her and see if she's still a student and still interested this year, because we could now use some help on design. So this is purely anecdotal, right? It's one project, but I would say that we have started seeing more women show up in the application pool. There's still a tiny minority, but it gives us someone to choose from.
Right.
And a lot of the mentors will make sure that they have at least one male applicant in their pool of final choices, even if it was only 1 out of 40 who applied, right?
Right. Yeah. So then, again, if we want to talk about it, sort of goals for next year, I think we've got as a list on our agenda. How do we want to go about encouraging more diversity in applications and selections? I know how they do it in the release process for Kubernetes, where it's a stated goal of the shadow program to bring in folks who are as diverse as possible, and they coordinate it at sort of the release level. I'm not sure that we would be able to do that in this case, but potentially we could. So I'm wondering, how do we want to think about how we would set that goal now, or do we want to wait to reach out to the research team next year and set that goal then?
I suggest actually saying, hey, what is our specific set of goals in terms of diversity, right? What are we looking to increase?
Right.
Because then that's going to depend on, how we can sort of go about it. I mean, I would actually say, looking at the sort of numbers that you have in terms of who's actually selected, who actually gets mentored, it's as diverse as it could be given the existing applicant pool. So changing any sort of the diversity numbers is going to require changing who's in the applicant pool.
Mm.
And so then it really becomes a question of, can we actually do that, and if so, how?
Right. And I think I tend to agree with you.
And having some specific targets, right? Do we want people from more of the world? Do we want do we want more non-male mentees? Do we want more career changers as opposed to early students? Which in what area are we looking to diversify?
Okay. So I don't think that we can. Well, we could potentially at this point have that discussion. I think it would be better to have that discussion early in the new year. I think I'd rather have some conversations with again, like I said, I feel like the research and the diversity sort of goes hand in hand, because if we can't measure it, then we don't know where we're succeeding and where we're not. And I'd like to sort of put it out to the community to see how we want to frame our question around diversity. And I think you're right, Josh. I think these are the types of questions that we need to ask as a community. And so the 5 of us are a good place to start, but I think we probably want to have a wider conversation and invite some more folks in on how to do this.
And I think a good point that you made is, which I think the research team would give a good input, is the way we slice the parameters of our data collection. And if you have it in smaller chunks, it will be, because 20 to 39 is really career starters all the way to middle management level. But I'm sure there's some expert that would give us good advice about how to slice it.
Yeah, there's one other minor thing that I'll actually say in terms of the participating project thing, which is that if we want the projects to actually have goals around diversity, that information would have to be available to the mentors, which currently it is not.
Right. They can
Like,
only see
we
they can
could-
only see project level applicants.
Yeah, we could guess who's non-male from things like names and things that they say in their profiles or cover letter,
Mhm.
but sometimes we just didn't know.
That's fair. Yep.
So like, even so, if we wanted to hand the projects goals of, hey, I mean, I would say arguing in favor of right now that the projects are actually pretty good about this. But if we wanted them to have more concrete goals around, you must interview at least one non-male candidate, for example,
Right.
then gender would have to be in the LFX platform.
Which it is.
It is, okay.
It is, and everything that we saw in this is all collected from the LFX platform. So
Okay,
gender,
it's just not
race,
exposed.
age,
It's just
and-
not exposed to the mentors. Got it.
That's
Okay.
my understanding. Yeah.
Yes. So we'd have to expose it to the mentors. And which then means you also need to talk to Linux Foundation privacy. So
That's the other thing. That's a good point.
the
Yeah, and I think I think discussing things with the research team, I think we would probably have to go through. Actually, I don't know. I assume there's an ethics board for things like.
part of it honestly depends on what is it that we tell the mentees when they fill out the form.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, and we don't have to do any of that yet, because we may decide. I think really what's dominating our demographic layout is who's in the applicant pool. And
Yeah.
so if we
Well,
decide to go out entirely by, hey, we're going to try to get more of X into the applicant pool, then we don't need to expose the information.
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree. And speaking of increasing the applicant pool, we are now, like we've grown. Like I keep saying that we have like 140 projects. I think we're closer to 150 or so. I'm not sure exactly the new number, or if it's public yet. But we've grown as the CNCF. So we have more projects now, which helps us grow our applicant pool as well. But we also, like I've had this discussion with Jay earlier. I had a CNCF goal of 100 LFX, or like 100 mentees going through our various programs, and I think that I'd like to challenge us to do 150 next year. I think that with the growth in the CNCF, and I think that some of the work that we're doing around mentorship at events like KubeCon, I think that we can. I think we can have a stretch goal of 150 and not necessarily have to resort to advertising the program in more traditional ways. I think we can still do this word of mouth. So I do want to, like, when you say change the applicant pool, yes, I would like to do that by growing it. But I think that the number of mentees that go through our program is highly dependent on the number of maintainers who have time to do up proposals and mentor. So I feel like anytime we would be changing or growing, we have to keep the maintainers in mind, so that we're not pushing to burn them out, because there's a few people who were able to do. One person in particular did, I think, like 10 or 13. Several did 5, and the majority of maintainers did 1 or 2. And so I'd like to grow the number of folks who are doing 1 or 2, rather than trying to find what's the term, a whale. It'll have,
The one of the other things to keep in mind if we do any outreach efforts to grow the pool is that the current LFX tool does nothing to filter out garbage.
yeah, it doesn't help us scale.
And from that perspective, actually having more applications per project might be fatal in the current state of the tool.
Yeah, and I think that's where the best way to grow this would be from the project side. Because otherwise we'll wind up in a spot where the maintainers simply don't have time to evaluate all of the applicants. And so a third or whatever, some number of the applicants just won't be evaluated in order to be brought on, which is discouraging for everyone involved, I think. Is there anything else we want to discuss around goals for next year?
No, I think that's covered the most of it, and obviously covered those numbers and our stretch goal for engagement and stuff overall. So
over the break, I'd like to ask everyone to think on what might be other good goals for us as a team or as a working group. I think a goal of getting this website together and getting information into a more reasonable package is a good goal. I think the number of folks that we want to mentee, I think the increasing our diversity is a good goal. But if you've got some time, or if you're out for a run or whatever, and have some thinking time, I'd appreciate your thoughts.
Yeah. One thing is, I think we're going to want to think about an organized effort around Clotributor. From the first cut at that is actually pretty good. I think it meets the usefulness test, which means that it's something that we can build on.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it, by the way.
And one of the things around there, right, for example, is one of the tags that Clotributor recognizes, even though nobody has it yet, is mentor available. And if we wanted to follow up on that, that would obviously mean reaching out to and working with the projects to actually have them start flagging appropriate help wanted issues as having a mentor available.
Right, right.
And even, come up with sort of a template or playbook or whatever for what that would look like.
I agree.
that sounds awesome.
Okay.
Cool.
I think, have we hit everything that we wanted to hit? I added the diversity data to the mentoring programs info. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about there, Jay?
No, not specifically. That's all good. I guess maybe just a general sort of update from what's happening over here in New Zealand. So just to wrap up the year, just continue to catch up with various stakeholders in the space. So we're meeting with some research teams from one of the regional universities around the water quality stuff. They're really excited about the prospect of that. I've been given a big list of other contacts and those who are doing similar sort of efforts, and yeah, they're keen to hear about the prospect of taking an open source approach, and thinks that there's a lot of possible solutions that can be gleaned from that. So Hippie's just come back to the country, so he'll be meeting with them earlier in the new year. We've also invited him to speak at a conference they've got in February to provide a bit more context around that as well. And we've maintained, we, as part of that, been engaging with the likes of AgStack, Linux, to sort of see what sort of scope and overlap there is there too. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Schools are really interested, again, just at the entry point around introducing their students into open source Linux. So we'll be looking to revive that, our pilot program early in the new year as well, and rolling that out across the region alongside one of the economic development agencies that we've been working with. Has been Te Hapori Matihiko, which translates to the digital community, Māori digital community, that was launched, I think, last week. And I was invited to speak on the panel of that, which was which was awesome. But it was a bit of an opportunity just to introduce the community to CNCF and open source, and a lot of the sorts of efforts and things there. And we're having tertiary students in as part of the work integration program, or a student from the new year, as well as some of the other sort of projects and stuff that we're doing with local governments in the region as well. So just in the general sort of space there, just continuing to plug away at increasing awareness and some of those opportunities. And we're doing a bit more of a focused effort is around developing specific pathways into some of the opportunities in space as well. And caught up with Victor this morning, which was cool to hear more about some of his ideas around that. So thank you again for your time there, Victor. Was really beneficial. Took a bunch of notes, as I mentioned. So yeah, we'll just be looking to sort of build upon that as we go into the new year as well. So that's from me.
Cool, thank you so much. And I feel somewhat rude. Normally at the beginning of these types of meetings, we like to do a round of introductions when there are new folks. And Victor, I don't think we've met. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself, or would you like us to introduce ourselves?
Yeah, actually, I watched a lot of your videos already. I might be new to this meeting. I'm not new to the channel. I'm sorry, I still not comfortable being recorded. I'm not on yet.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm right now independent, been a database guy for a long time. New to CNCF, only 1 month, a little more than 1 month. Still listening mode and attending actually a lot of meetings, just trying to learn what's going on and understand the landscape.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and you're very welcome. Thanks. We're always looking for new folks to participate, so this is great.
Absolutely.
All right. Just before we end up here, we're at 1:50 my time, so we've got about 10 minutes to the hour. Is there anything that anybody would like to discuss that is not on the agenda?
I think that's it for me personally.
All right. Well, in that case, I think I can give us back some time. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Enjoy your various seasons breaks, wherever you happen to be, the winter break or summer break. And we will see you in the new year. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Enjoy the holidays. See ya.
Take care.
Bye.